My name is Roy Hausman. I'm the Legislative Director for United Steelworkers. Thank you all for joining this briefing. And thank you for tuning in today in this pivotal juncture of moving our economy forward. The United Steelworkers is the largest union in the manufacturing supply chain. And for the next half hour, you're going to get a sense on why it is so important for Congress to move forward and pass the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act through our We Supply America campaign. And first, to begin with this, is a word from our international president, Tom Conway. So we'll go ahead and play a quick video.
Look, I don't want to talk to you about Democrats or Republicans or Trump or Biden. We're long past the point where politics has anything to do with this. Look, it's time to stop screwing around. With this infrastructure bill, we've got a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do some real good for our jobs, for the country, for our union. For generations, we've seen entire industries wiped out, jobs just gone, too often our jobs. This is a chance for us to bring back some of this work and to make an investment in our country and into the stuff that we do and make in this union. It's really that simple. And if we do this right, if we build stuff, if we make stuff, if we modernize and insist that it's done with our labor, we'll have good jobs and good work for a generation. Don't be fooled by all the talk about pork and needless spending and other nonsense. This country has spent needlessly on tax breaks and on wars for generations. It's now time to invest and rebuild our country. Is this bill perfect? Probably not. Is it as horrible as some would have you think? It's definitely not. Look, we're all experienced at bargaining. And we all know when you're sitting at the bargaining table and someone on the other side is trying to screw you instead of give you what you deserve. Well, that's what's happening here. And it's no different. So we're not going to fall for it. We're not pushing anyone's agenda here but our own. And I'll be damned if we're going to let our unions stand by and watch this opportunity pass us by without a fight, regardless of who we have to fight with.
All right. As President Conway has indicated, moving forward with infrastructure is a major priority. And obviously today with President Biden visiting the House Democratic caucus to encourage movement on the infrastructure bill, it couldn't be more timely. So let's do a quick summary for everyone here on what's in the bill. The legislation that incorporates a highway reauthorization that increased highway trust funds by 23.6% in fiscal year 22 and adjusts for inflation beyond. Combined with reauthorizations of rail, transit, and funding for water programs, legislation creates historic investments in our nation's core infrastructure priorities, with $450 billion in reauthorizations and $550 billion in new spending over 5 years. The Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act is a bipartisan bill that has passed the Senate with a vote of 69 to 30, meaning 19 Senate Republicans joined 50 Democrats in passing the bill, moving past party politics and putting upgrading of our country's infrastructure first and foremost. It should be noted that 19 Senate Republicans voted for the bill, representing states with 62 Republican House members in their states. And with negotiations in a second reconciliation bill closing in, it's important that progressives also press forward with completing this important work, upgrading our country's infrastructure. Union members, both Republican and Democrat, and every stripe in between, want to see results. I have the fortune to introduce some amazing steelworker members who will discuss their jobs supplying America and how the bill will help them. First, let's have Danita Williams from USW Local 1025 in Wilmington, North Carolina come on and discuss how the bill will work and help her local. Go ahead, Danita.
Good morning. I am Danita Williams, president of USW Local 1025 at Corning in Wilmington, North Carolina. The 326 members here and members throughout our union manufacture products every day that we need in our nation's infrastructure. I want to stress to you how important infrastructure investment is and what it means for the workers like the ones I represent. This bill invests $65 billion to address broadband and infrastructure needs. We have a stake in that. The optical fiber our members make here in Wilmington is essential for the construction of the broadband networks that we need to build across the United States. We can supply the materials to ensure that Americans in rural communities have reliable access to the internet. As a matter of fact, this plan has $2 billion in investment for rural development, which will ensure our place in the supply chain. America's infrastructure needs to be revitalized. Investments in infrastructure are also investments in American workers and communities. Our jobs supply our families with health care, our children with education, and our local economy and communities with the tech space needed to help fund local school districts and essential services. We need support from our local, state, and federal leaders to invest in building broadband with US-made materials. This will ensure the success of my union brothers and sisters, our families and jobs for today and for generations to come. Our local stands ready to supply America with the optical fiber required to build broadband across the country for all Americans. We, along with our employer Corning, stand ready to call for these needed investments to provide the American infrastructure of the future and to ensure that the steel workers of Local 1025 continue to supply America. Thank you. God bless you all, and God bless America.
Thank you, Danita. And I like to think that the USW made broadband fiber is allowing us to talk to each other today.
Exactly. 5G network is coming to the home.
That's right. Next, we've got Eric Ludwig, who works all the way out in Colorado. And thanks for coming in a couple hours earlier. Eric works in an electric arc furnace steel plant in Pueblo, Colorado, called EVRAZ. Eric, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Eric Ludwig, president of Local 2102 here in Colorado. I appreciate the opportunity to share with you how critical this infrastructure bill is to me and the 715 members of my local who work at EVRAZ, Pueblo, Colorado. Our 150-year-old mill produces the finest steel products available, including rail, seamless pipe, rod, and coiled rebar. Generations of our family have worked here, and hopefully more to come. Even though our mill is old, we fully understand that investing in our future is key to survival. All of our products are made from recycled steel. The power our mill uses is now almost fully offset by one of the state's largest solar fields that is built on our site. We are the first in the world to do so. Responsible investments like this set us up for long-term success and guarantees work for generations to come. In addition, EVRAZ broke ground recently on a $500 million long rail mill that will employ about 200 people when complete. It'll have the capability of producing 320-foot long sections of rail that'll come off the mill welded into quarter-mile strings. Construction of this state-of-the-art mill will be about a half mile. It's going to take 800 construction workers. It's going to use 7,000 tons of steel, 52,000 yards of concrete, around 5 million pounds of rebar made right here in Pueblo. The $66 billion in new spending for passenger and freight rail means this investment will directly impact our business. Our members are ready to make that rail, and we're ready to do it as the greenest facility in North America. We know how to do this work. An investment in our nation's infrastructure is an investment in me, my members, our families, and our community. This facility has been here for decades upon decades, longer than the Colorado's been a state. Our legislators now have an opportunity to ensure it remains here. Thank you for your time.
That's awesome, Eric. And as you pointed out, that $66 billion in rail investment, it's really timely, and with your guys' investment at that plant, couldn't come at a better time. Now we're gonna change over and head up a little bit farther north and east to the Minnesota Iron Range. And Jamie Winger, he's a miner who supplies the raw materials for our country's steel mills. Go ahead, Jamie.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you. As you said, my name is Jamie Winger. I'm president of USW 6860. We have 448 Iron Range members at our facility. We work United Taconite, which is a Cleveland Cliffs owned mine. We are proud to supply America with environmentally friendly iron ore pellets that serve as the irreplaceable raw material used to make the steel that supports American infrastructure and national security. The very steel Brother Pete and his members make down at Burns Harbor, actually. This produces iron ore pellets that ultimately go like flat markets directly related to our national's infrastructure needs. That includes like lightweight materials needed for transport goods coast to coast, across oceans, steel plate produced to go into bridges, telecommunication infrastructure, ships, submarines, steel pipes, and the list goes on and on. The steel produced starts here. We literally are the very beginning of our nation's steel supply chain, and this bill will have impact on the amount of product that we make. While our facilities work is critical to our nation's infrastructure needs, we're also an important part of the local economy. Our negotiated wages and benefits positively impact city and states payroll, injects nearly, I believe, 86 million in our region. It'll help. Obviously, this infrastructure will help with years of mining to come and secure our jobs. We all get old, it does fall apart, whether it's people, infrastructure, we have to invest. Someone has to mine the iron to make the steel for these fixes. We can do this better, safer, and more environmentally friendly than anyone in the industry. That should be us, and it needs to be us. And you can make that help. Make that happen. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, Jamie. Your comments on bridges earlier highlights that, in the bill itself, there's 36 billion in bridge grant programs with Buy America provisions that'll support reducing about $125 billion bridge repair backlog, which is pretty wild to think about that we're going to finally chip away at that should we pass this bill. Now we're going to turn to Mark Powers, who's going to tell us a little bit about his plant, which helps us roll across America. Mark, go ahead.
Good morning. I'm Mark Powers. I'm the Rapid Response Coordinator for USW Local 831. As an activist and someone who pays attention to how legislative decisions impact our members and our workplaces, it's very apparent to me that America's infrastructure needs to be revitalized. In Southern Virginia, where I work, is no exception to this need. Our 1,900 plus members of our local union manufacture medium radial truck tires and aircraft tires at the Goodyear plant in Danville, Virginia. Our tires supply America by aiding in transport of goods across the country by truck, in commercial, cargo, military, and private aircraft. We also make tires for school buses that carry our children to school each day. Investment in our nation's infrastructure using goods made in the United States like our tires will help retain and create jobs like ours. We need well-maintained roads, airports, and ports to support our members' jobs. This bill provides $110 billion in new spending for roads, bridges, and other major projects, and new money to modernize our ports. It also provides $20 billion in refunding for airports. That means something to us. While the tires we make here are a vital component to our nation's infrastructure, the work is just as vital to our families and our communities. The jobs supply our families with health care, our kids with education and local economy and communities with a reliable tax base to help fund local school districts and essential services. We also we need support from our local, state, and federal leaders to invest in the funding tools and resources required to ensure the success of my union siblings, our families, and the jobs for today and for the generations to come. Our local understands the benefits of infrastructure investment. It isn't just about roads and bridges, construction and material. It's an investment in American workers. The brothers and sisters of USW Local 831 are calling for these needed investments to provide the American infrastructure of the future to ensure that steelworker members across the country continue to supply America. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Mark. In the Investment in Infrastructure Jobs Act, you've got actually $5 billion for new electric school buses, which will it's interesting to think about that you guys will help supply the tires for that investment going forward. Moving now, and also we stopped at the We Supply America bus tour in August. It was great to visit your guys' hall. Moving right along, let's bring on Mike Knoll, who's a union leader in our 80,000 member strong paper sector. Go ahead, Mike.
Good morning. My name is Mike Knoll. I'm the president of USW Local 1237. The 97 members I represent supply America with packaging supplies made at PCA in Newark, Ohio. We all lived through the great toilet paper shortage of 2020, and although we do work in the paper sector, we don't make that kind of paper, and that was not our fault. Our members at PCA make container board, commonly called cardboard, and the box is made from that cardboard. Cardboard is a sustainable and recyclable product that is both lightweight and strong. I believe it's in our nature to see how we need something far easier than how we contribute to it. It's obvious how much a company relies on the infrastructure of roads, bridges, railways, and ports to receive supplies and ship product, but it took the pandemic for me to understand how a cardboard box can contribute to it. This pandemic drove many people to stay home, and that created a huge increase in online shopping, which greatly increased the need for boxes. Those boxes may deliver life-saving medicines or a new computer so that someone can continue to make a paycheck by working from home. One provision in this bill establishes a fund for the Department of Energy to help states advance smart manufacturing technologies that will help us continue to grow. It also directs the Department of Energy to provide technical assistance to manufacturers like PCA who are looking to improve energy and water efficiency, and creates a grant program to fund facility upgrades for small and medium-sized manufacturers. This is of special interest to us as we are currently planning on building a whole new facility. We need that kind of smart investment in manufacturing. Union manufacturing jobs like ours at PCA are crucial to everyday lives of Americans and are necessary for the physical and social infrastructure in our country. In order to continue supplying America with the products it needs, products we produce every day, we depend on our elected leaders to protect our country from predatory trade practices. If you give American workers the level playing field, we can compete with anyone. This bill will help do that by making sure the tax dollars spent are being spent here in America. When people hear the name steelworkers, their mind naturally goes to steel, but we are so much more. Our union is very diverse, and it makes many of the things you use in your lives every day. If there's a product made in America, it is likely that there is a steelworker somewhere making that product or some component of it. My brothers and sisters of Local 1237 join with everyone here to celebrate all the USW does to supply America and to call for the investment we desperately need in our infrastructure. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Mike. One interesting factoid about the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act is that includes a bipartisan Recycle Act led by Senator Portman and Stabenow. The bill, the provisions in the bill will help the EPA educate consumers to decrease the contamination in the recycling stream. An important issue for the paper and glass mills. And as a former paper worker myself, totally appreciate that. And so now I have the fortune to introduce Pete Trinidad from the Burns Harbor Steel Mill, who takes Brother Winger's iron ore and makes steel out of it. Pete, you want to go ahead?
Sure, thanks. Good morning. I'm Pete Trinidad, president of USW Local 6787. I'm honored to be here this morning with other steelworkers from across the country to highlight all the different things steelworkers make each and every day and why we need major investment in America's infrastructure. Here at 6787, we represent over 3,200 union members who work at the Cleveland Cliffs Burns Harbor facility. We make steel for construction, shipbuilding, automotive, transportation, and more. Steel is crucial for our infrastructure. It forms the backbone of our nation. This infrastructure bill provides $110 billion in new spending on top of already passed surface bills for roads, bridges, and other major projects. That means more steel needs to be made, which in turn creates more work for our members. The infrastructure bill also invests in carbon capture technology. It would establish a fund to provide low-interest loans to the private sector for research, development, and deployment of CO2 infrastructure. We work in an energy-intensive industry. We need forward-thinking, affordable ways to remain competitive and operate responsibly, while making economically sound investments which protects our environment for the future. Union jobs like ours are the foundation of our communities with good wages, benefits, long-term careers, which allow us to support our families. But our infrastructure has been neglected far too long. We need major national investment to rebuild the infrastructure here in Northwest Indiana and across the country. We're calling on our elected officials to help make this happen. As essential workers, steel workers are here to supply America with the materials and services necessary to rebuild it. So as we supply America, let's keep it made in America. Thank you.
I appreciate it, Pete. And I think that the Buy American provisions in the infrastructure bill are some of the more robust ones that will really change the dynamic. Some of these exclusions on various products were granted over 40 years ago, and they haven't been reviewed since. And one of the cool things about this bill is that we will actually get an opportunity to review a lot of these waivers of Buy America policy and make sure that they're updated in a reasonable way, so our USW members and others can manufacture the products for the federal government. Finally, and I have the honor to introduce Steve, who's lighting the way towards the close of this briefing. Why don't you go ahead?
Good morning. I'm Steve Bischoff, President of United Steelworkers, Local 525 at Newark, Ohio. America's infrastructure needs to be revitalized, and Central Ohio is no exception to this need. The lighting systems we make at Hall of Fame, where 125 members of our local, along with the members of United Steelworkers Locals 4 and 105, work to supply America, but not just with lighting. The jobs supply our families with health care, our kids with education, our communities with resources, and help our local economy. Our facility has been an important part of the local economy for over 20 years, 120 years here, excuse me. The United Steelworkers local unions at Hall of Fame make lighting for roads, bridges, and other transportation systems, security, and energy efficient buildings. The kind of investment this bill would provide in those areas will have a positive impact on our employer, and that means better wages and benefits for my members. While the lighting systems we make here are a vital component to our nation's infrastructure, the work is just as vital to our families and our community. The tax base from our jobs help to fund the local school districts and essential services. A portion of our paychecks support our neighbors who work in grocery stores and small businesses. We need support from our local, state, and federal leaders to invest in this funding, tools, and resources required to ensure the success of my union siblings and our families and jobs for today and for generations to come. Our local understands the benefits of infrastructure investment. It isn't just the buying the materials and for roads and bridges and construction. This is an investment in American workers. I'm happy to be here to talk today about these decisions, really what these decisions really mean to people like me and my members. Our local is ready to supply America. Please help us to do that, and thank you very much.
Hey, appreciate it, Steve. Really, thank you for closing this out. And we've left a few minutes here for Q&A. We're not too far behind schedule. So if there's any questions, feel free to throw them into the chat, and our wonderful staff here are going to help us get those in front of people. I think I'm going to open first with one question for Mark. One of the things that you brought up was a little bit how you supply some of the military contracts. Do you want to maybe highlight what you guys produce for our country's Navy?
Right now, we produce about 80% of the military aircraft tires for the Navy. So that's the contract we have right now. and our truck, our medium radial truck tires, we're about, we're 6,000 a day basically. And I could see that number doubling if this thing goes through, because we have to keep those trucks rolling.
That's great. Yeah. Danita, can you guys give me a sense on how much broadband you guys, cable you guys produce in a given period of time? I'm curious how that works. I'm sure a lot of people don't know how broadband's actually made. So.
Well, the process is made from glass. It's a coating on the glass. So I can tell you we produce a whole lot. We do produce a lot. And we also we partner with Verizon and we partner with AT&T to get the fiber out to the home.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, that's interesting to think about. Yeah, and then Pete, do you know, just one quick question on the steel side of things. Do you guys have any sense on, you know, some of the major bridge investments that you guys have seen some of the steel go to in the past, or?
You know, there's several of the large bridges here in the United States and in Canada that we've supplied the steel for. I think it was the largest bridge in Canada. They just finished it up, redoing it. So primarily almost 100% of that steel came from our 160-inch plate mill in Northwest Indiana here.
That's amazing. I mean, that's the cool thing that, you know, once we get this bill over the line, like to think about that, you know, when these major bridge investments go in, you guys are going to be, this mill in Indiana, it's going to be producing a lot of steel for it. So, all right. I think we're going to close out here now. And we have I have the privilege of introducing Amber Miller, who's our Rapid Response Director. And Amber, do you want to go ahead and lead us out of this?
Sure. Thanks, Roy. Good morning, everybody. You know, we really want to thank you for joining us today. As Roy said, my name is Amber Miller, and I'm the director of the USW's Rapid Response Department. And really what Rapid Response is a program within our union that's designed to share information on what's happening in Washington and then help our members get involved in these issues that impact them. Sort of just like what we're doing here today in this conversation with all of you. You know, we really can't stress enough the importance of this kind of bold investment and what it could mean to our members, their employers, their communities. Investing in infrastructure is a core priority of our union. It means job security for these folks and better contracts. And this really isn't about politics, just like our president, Tom Conway said, because it can't be. This is about people, the same people that you are hearing from today, you know, folks like these who see these bills for what they are, and they're an investment for their futures. The people you heard from this morning come from generations of working people who have not seen things get better, really. You know, they've watched jobs move, plants close, wages go stagnant, and really their kids struggle. You know, throughout our history, public investments in infrastructure have spurred economic growth. They've improved standards of living, they've generated employment. Think about the Transcontinental Railroad of the 1800s, or the Hoover Dam of the 1930s, or the interstate highway system in the 50s. Those are, you know, all investments that helped our nation prosper. And they were big and they were bold and they changed us and they helped our nation become, you know, who we are today. And we really think that we can do this again, but we need, you know, the help of our legislators to do that. Our members really understand what's at stake here, as you heard. You know, they're asking you to help them. For months, we've been reaching out to your offices as a reminder that we're the ones who supply America. You know, these folks have made calls, they've visited your offices, they've been emailing you. Just this week, they've been hitting offices all over the nation to deliver postcard pledges and joint letters they've crafted with their employers, really stressing the importance of this kind of investment, really in ourselves. Our members, like the ones you heard from this morning, they're highly skilled, they're ready to go, we're ready to supply the goods and services needed to build up our nation. From those who make the steel, like Pete and his members, to those who make the glass, the cement, rubber, they're really the building blocks of our infrastructure, along with the folks like Mike Knoll and his members who make the packaging that stuff goes in. And those who keep our schools, our hospitals, our telecommunication networks like Danita's folks, and other essential services running. Bold and transformational legislation like this really offers us an opportunity to move our country forward together and to meet tomorrow's challenges so we can keep our communities strong and our businesses globally competitive. We know we have to do that. This will create and maintain millions of good jobs, union represented jobs, and even more importantly, it puts us on a path towards sustainable economic growth that really ensures our nation prosperity into the future. Again, we thank you for your time this morning, and we want to leave you with this ask. Put people above politics and let us show you what we can do together. Pass something bold so we can move forward. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amber. And really appreciate everyone coming on and those that have viewed. And we're going to save this stream and we'll put it up on our website and other materials as well. So our members and others can hear all the great work that they all do on a regular basis, and we'll do this education. Thank you guys. Thanks for everyone, our panelists. And if you have any questions, feel free to check out usw.org and feel free to reach out, if any Hill people or others, to reach out to us via social media as well. So, all right, thanks again and have a wonderful day.